I talk a lot about my jar and lid analogy and keeping your meals and snacks balanced, but that's focused on whole real foods. So when it comes to reading a nutrition fact label, I wanted to provide you with guidance on how to determine whether an item is balanced or not, and whether it is worthwhile to consume or one that maybe you should put back on the shelf or replace. So step one, what you want to do is always check serving size. So you see here, we're going to start with Kind Bar as an example. One bar is one serving, which is great. They're not trying to trick us. Sometimes we look at a bar and you would think it would be one serving, but it might be two or potentially even three servings. So always just glance at that serving size. And then naturally your eye is going to want to go down to calories or total fat. Go ahead and bypass both of those and come down to total carbs. So at total carbs, we see here, we have 16 grams in one bar. And that carb, again, is our jar. So we want to know, do we have adequate of a lid? That lid being protein and or quality fat. So we want to see that in order to have an adequate lid to balance out these 16 grams of carbs, ideally you want to see that protein is at least half the amount of carbs. So with 16 grams of carbs, we would want at least 8 grams of protein. However, we only have 6. Granted, that's quite close, but still if we can get that 6 grams or have good quality fat in there to better balance those carbs, that is ideal. So now what we want to do is say, okay, well, being that there isn't quite enough protein, is it quality fat that is in this product? And if so, then we can add that fat with the protein to equal that lid. So we're going to look at ingredients, and we see that the ingredients are almonds, good quality fat, peanuts, a decent quality fat. Ideally, they would be organic if you're going to have peanuts, just because they are subjected to more mold when they're grown, so more pesticides, more chemicals, potentially more pro-inflammatory. The other fats listed here, let's see, the unsweetened chocolate could be a quality fat. And those are the only fats, maybe the cocoa butter as well, but all whole real ingredients. So I would say, yes, that is a quality fat. So we could add 15 grams of fat plus 6 grams of protein. So we end up with 21 grams of a lid, which is at least half of carbs. I will say, however, if we're going to add the protein with the fat, ideally you want to see that that total is at least half, but if you can get it to be equivalent to total carbs or greater than, that's even better. So this example or this bar is balanced. Other things that we want to keep in mind is the ingredients, right? So yes, it's balanced, but are these whole real ingredients? So almonds, yes. Peanuts, yes. Chicory root fiber is an added form of fiber. It can help with digestive health. For some, it can cause digestive issues. So it's just really recognizing how it responds in or how your body responds to it. And then honey, so that is a good quality sugar. But then we see palm kernel oil, which is a pro-inflammatory fat, sugar, glucose syrup, which is more sugar, and then rice flour, probably to kind of stabilize things and hold it together. And then we have the soy lecithin in there as like an additive. So there are quite a few added ingredients and added forms of sugar, which is not ideal, but on a good, better, best spectrum, I would say this is still a better choice, being that it is quite balanced. And it does offer 7 grams of fiber, which is nice. Some of that is probably coming from the nuts, some from the chicory root fiber. And then you see 4 grams of added sugar. So there is added sugar there from the sugar and the glucose syrup. So now let's compare this to what I would consider my top recommendation of a bar, and that is the Lara bar. And the reason I like these bars is because there's not going to be a lot of added sugar. I used this example because I felt it was most closely related to the Kind bar, being that it was the almond dark chocolate sea salt. I did the almond butter chocolate chip Lara bar. So once the chocolate chips are added, there is going to be some sugar. But for example, my favorite Lara bar is cashew cookie. So it's dates and cashews, and that's it. And I really like that it's sweet enough for me, but there's not any added sugar. So if we're looking at this example, we'll see that one serving is 1 bar. And then we're bypassing the fat, bypassing the calories, we're going to carbs. So we see 23 grams of carbs. So it is a little bit higher carb content than the Kind bar. and we see that protein is 5. So we're looking at, not nearly half the amount of protein, because ideally we want to see that protein is at least half the amount of carbs. So we would want to see 11.5 grams of protein. We only have 5. So then again, we look at the ingredients and see, okay, almonds, quality fat. The unsweetened chocolate is probably providing some quality fat, cocoa butter, quality fat, and those are our fats. So we have quality fat, so 12 grams plus 5 grams of protein is going to give us 17, which is at least half the amount of carbs. It is not equivalent to or greater than like the kind bar. However, it is going to still be balanced because it's at least half. And then we see that the ingredients here, so almonds, dates, semi-sweet chocolate chips. So yes, there is some cane sugar there, but at least it's cane sugar. It would be great if it was honey or maple syrup would be my best choices there. And then all ingredients that we recognize and pronounce in whole real foods. So I do prefer the Lara bars because of that. You will see there's still added sugar, so 4 grams. So in comparison, the 2 bars are quite similar. However, just due to the ingredients and me being kind of nitty gritty, I would recommend the Lara bar over the kind bar. But on a good, better, best spectrum, I would really put both of them as better, just being that there is added sugar. So if we were going to say a best alternative might be like a Lara bar that was the cashew cookie that I mentioned, where it's just dates and cashews, no added sugar to that. And it is a little bit more balanced as a result. So I hope that you use this label reading method as a guide for yourself. So again, reviewing that. Step 1, you want to look at serving size. Step 2, go ahead and drop all the way down to carbs. And you want to see that then protein is at least half the amount of carbs. If protein is not, then we can look at the ingredients to see if it's quality fats. And if it is quality fat, then we can add total fat plus grams of protein for that combination to be equivalent to, at least half the amount of carbs, equivalent to or greater than the amount of carbs. And then we want to just kind of run over the ingredients again and make sure that they are whole real foods and that they're ones that you can recognize and pronounce. So use this as a guide. And if you're looking at just like the easiest way to do it, look at that carb to protein ratio. And hopefully you will find that really helpful and maybe eye-opening and explore some new options.